continue. Again, thank you everybody for coming. Okay, this is a perfect time to raise our hands. So here's the Jew. We love you, Dada. Yakida. Benedicto.
Benedictas.
So, all right. Everybody say Yakida. Or just stay in the circle. It's kind of nice.
Like authority.
You don't
So
say.
if you're not allowed to have a crossbow thing, yeah, he did bring us that. And then he brought something to put up a tree so that you could sit and use it. And of course they weren't even legal here.
It wasn't even legal.
I think we might still have it. Sure,
Crossbow was as big as me.
No, he didn't mind authority, he just didn't check the rule.
I didn't check.
I think those flintlock guns are black powder up there, and you fire and
But yeah, they would have been
and then a
very
few seconds
rich.
later, and there's this great big shoot of flame out the barrel, and whatever you're aiming at disappears into a cloud of steam.
Actually, whatever you're aiming at, it's disappeared quite a long time ago.
A cannon doesn't really do much good, does it? Unless
Well, he's only high miles.
No. And then one day we had the firearms inspector came round, and he looked at it and he realised it was a rifle. And we said, oh no, it's not a rifle. When we went away, he and Julian bored it out, so it looked like a shotgun. And we had it for a long time. And in those days, he just put it in his golf bag. No, it actually, not anymore. I used to bring his moose in the golf bag as well. Frozen moose in the golf bag. And of course now you can't even bring a
He did. I forgot the outboard engine.
Just what you need.
Yeah, and he
TSA did not know
had
what
a
to do
certain,
with
I think he had
that.
a certain amount of trouble with customs and
Yes, we
whatever with it, but he blagged his way through, and yes, it's still there. And I think, but just the same with all of Julian's things. I spent, 95% of the time was spent assembling it and putting it together and trying to get it to work and wondering why, have we got the right oil to do this, and then how do we drain down that and everything. And probably maybe up to 5% actually using it, actually doing it. But it was, every bit of that was fun.
I remember the engine packing it into a golf bag.
That's that.
But it's still there, anyone who wants to use it in the process.
On the pontoon, that way you can fish while speeding through the sea.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
The
the
sound where
umbrella
the sun can.
could.
So attached to the pontoon.
It's the piping that he puts to
It's
make, to stabilize the canoe. Now he's gonna put an outboard on. I saw those magnificent men in the flying machine. We don't have
Julian.
Yeah, I think it's maybe whatever.
He was kind of always amusing in whatever, but I just kind of reinforce been saying about Julian's full of life, full of generosity, amazing generosity. And sometimes he overdid it because I remember we came to your his 60th party and we were going to have crabs. And long thing crabs or whatever, and he went off to go and get crabs and came back, and I thought there were 20 of us or so, and I thought there would, there'd be enough for that. No. He comes back with 2 sacks of crabs or whatever, and there was just a mountain. There was no way we were going to cope with this. But that was Julian. He always kind of over provided for everybody in all of this. And we have a house we built in Belize, and Julian came down a number of times. But Julian, never enough to just say, yeah, I'll come out on your boat or whatever. I kind of dreaded going out on a boat with Julian because he was so passionate about it that we would go off for the day, and it's hot there, it's hot, you know, and you think, right, I'm going to go out for 2-3 hours and that'll be fine. No, not Julian. No. He wants to fish till dark or whatever, and I'm going, Julian, the engine's not very reliable. I really need to be back, you know, at home before it gets dark. No, just another 20 minutes, just round the corner, just another bit. Well, I think we made it back in the end, but I was going, please, Julian, please. And I always lived in peril of it, I have to say, of his smoking, because I said, Julian, this is a boat full of petrol. Please, I have 40-50 gallons of petrol in various things around this boat, and you won't stop. But he was also a bit of an inventor. I mean, he's probably, I remember all sorts of things, but he insisted on buying, and we still have this Indian open canoe in Belize. But Julian, being Julian, is not satisfied with it just being a canoe and paddling it. We go off down to Belize City, where he buys, we go into the plumbing store, and he buys lots of plastic piping and elbow joints and this and that and everything, and glue and so on, and gets back and proceeds to assemble, to his design, an outrigger of household piping and everything in this. I have to tell you that plumbing piping, plumber's glue, and the sea don't mix. and so there were a number of times that we were going, you know, Julian, we'll watch you from the balcony, that's all right.
The purpose of it was so that he could stand up and
Yes. The whole purpose, everything had a purpose, and this was to be able to stand up and fish, which he did. And I have to say, we still have a storeroom there full of these great big pipes and whatever. But
I chucked all of mine out.
I don't think anybody else could assemble in this, but he did. Each trip he'd get it out and reassemble and re-glue it and set off again, and then come back and stick another bit back on and so on. So yeah, it's just a kind of rich memory, and I'm sorry I don't have quite those same amusing tiny little anecdotes, but it's just a continual process of him being larger than life, an incredibly intelligent guy. I mean, what he didn't know about, you know, was not worth knowing, so to speak. So he was a fascinating man in that respect. And I'm just privileged. I think we're both very privileged that we knew him for a fair old span of time, and that he had I don't know, that kind of spirit of constantly wanting to be everywhere, that he kept coming and seeing us and seeing everybody. I mean, everybody who's in this room, you know, he just kept touching on people's lives, which was just fabulous. And I'm thankful for knowing him very much.
Far too filthy, but I want to just say something serious about you, because I think his generosity, which we've talked about, was absolutely extraordinary to everybody I think he's touched. But it came home to me once when Ju agreed to do online consultations for a cancer patient in the middle of Bolivia. And it suddenly came home to me when at the same time somebody in my wife's family said that she had been treated to Ju at the other end of the world. And that made sense to me then.
It's also not funny, but you know, I mean, Ju was just always there, so you don't really remember very much about your family necessarily. But Tim and I had gone out to stay with during the week in the States, and they had a cabin up in the mountains where they skied. And so Julian took us up there, and he was dressed, he had Shadow, his very muddy dog, and he had very muddy shoes and camouflage outfit. And then he said, he stopped the car, he said, I'm just going to nip in here and get my post. And it was his clinic, where he was a doctor. And he'd always said what a good doctor he was, but you know, he's my brother, so. And anyway, when we went in, the dog ran to the patients, he went in, and the whole clinic stopped because they just wanted to talk to Jew. And everybody came to the office to speak to Jew. And then I think I realised what a good doctor he probably was.
Very good shot, and this attracted the attention of the professor, the Royal Master, who invited him to a Dutch. So he turned up, and because he was relatively insignificant amongst the great and good, parked in a hide miles away from the action. So he's sitting on his own. He can hear the guns going off. He can hear the ducks flying in, but he couldn't see a single one of them until his attention was attracted by some movement on the lake. And there, swimming into view, was a nice plump duck. So although it's not considered sporting, he shot it. It exploded into thousands of plastic pieces. He wasn't invited again. That's one of his favourite stories. I can't tell you his jokes, and I can't tell you the recording he made when I sent him a tape to send back to me when I was in Australia. But unfortunately, Mum got hold of it, and she was, I don't know what it is, but you can
Surprised.
It's walk back, I could hear the cows. But I didn't get that tape because I passed on. But what a good story. He was full of good stories, in fact. And I'm running out of breath. And so I'm going to leave it and that order.
Nick, I remember a story when you and Drew went farming at the back of Llanystumdwy, and we turned up one weekend to see one Sunday. For the family photograph, Drew was posing with a rabbit, and when you saw this, he said, hang on a minute, you went indoors, and you appeared with a pigeon and a catapult.
The computer fell down. His phone fell down. It's shining up the ceiling. All right, we'll pick it up.
No, we better make sure it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I don't think I can handle that. Alright. Well, I'm gonna let somebody else come up, and then Nick, I'm gonna leave you online, whoever wants to chat one-on-one, but I know you're out of breath. Thank you for the story.
Thank you. That was nice.
Yeah, that was scary. Yeah, that's the same thing. That would be it.
the story. Shut up, let me sit down. Yeah, she's mentioned it quite a few times. Somewhere. Hi, Colorado.
My grandfather some advice about making speeches, and it was stand up, speak up, shut up, sit down. I always took the mick out of you and Nick, as the youngest would. And I always had to go at the size of his butt. In fact, Martin joined in this one. We used to blame each other. But Drew came over to Cornwall once, and we were constructing a shed. We had 2 granite walls, and we'd made 2 panels which were tacked. So we had the basic bones of the thing. Drew was just saying, this is the 3rd shed I built this year. And he stepped backwards, and he trod on something. He fell over, and he ended in the corner. The whole thing fell apart. So he actually built 4 sheds out here and and then he was the biggest fish I ever caught. We were fly fishing. I've only been fly fishing twice, both with Drew. But this time we were sea trout on the river in Lanastumblui overnight. And I kept on catching my fly in the trees behind the knob. Initially I used to go and pick it out, and I got like that. And then 3 hours in, there was an ouch. And I caught Drew in the lip. And he told me in Mexico or somewhere he caught himself in the eyelid.
Himself? Yes.
He caught himself in the eyelid, and as he was walking back to the hotel to get some pliers for chopping off, all the local kids were taking the mick. I can tell you much more, but I might give away too much about myself.
It's sort of a knock-on from James's story, which is that having, at the age of 3, been taught how to smoke a rolled-up newspaper, I obviously had some. I have no recollection of that particular incident. Obviously, I've done a lot of damage to my brain. But I obviously had some sort of muscle memory, and I was at prep school, and I decided that smoking was obviously the next thing. I had no access to any cigarettes, so I got some. It was called something like ACCO, laboratory paper, which was very, very, very crisp, very uncomfortable on the bottom. Bronco. Anyway, my cigarettes were made of horse chestnut leaves, rolled up in Bronco, and with some sellotape. The sellotape added a considerable bite to the flavour. And I smoked this, thinking, in my back of my mind, about Julian, obviously. And I was very, very surprised because I was caught. I had chosen to smoke my cigarette in the Masters Junior Common Room. So what I thought I was doing, I don't know. So that's where we started. But I'm then going to go on to something else, which Monique reminded me of. I don't come out of these stories very well, actually, now I think about it. But we moved to Devon in about 2005, and Julian and Monique started these sort of quite regular visits to the West Country. And I always loved their company, and we always had a wonderful, funny, charming time, and I tried very hard. They were not easy to get to receive your entertainment. They were so generous. They always wanted to be taking us out or whatever. Anyway, on one occasion, I managed to persuade them to come and stay, and I thought this was absolutely triumphant. The only problem was I completely neglected to remember that we were actually supposed to be going out. So Julian and Monique arrived, and I said, gosh, it's nice to see you, so nice. Unfortunately, we're going out, so would you look after the children? And they were absolute troopers.
And we were told which pub to take them to.
I gave them instructions as to where to take them for supper, all that kind of thing. And they improvised. apologised after that, and bolted fairly early the next morning. And that was the last time I managed to invade Women's
That's the last time we stayed with you.
So I appreciate that I have slightly slandered myself in the process of this anecdotal process, but he was just a wonderful, wonderful man, as we all know, and we all miss him.
Well, you're all going to say something, but I wanted to read a prayer that I heard at Ian Proctor's funeral. That's Julian's father. And yay! Welcome. Anyway, I heard him say it, and I liked it. So I asked him for it, and he wrote it. It's up on that table. He wrote it in the most beautiful tiny handwriting and said, "Monique, it was a great pleasure to meet you on the sad occasion of Ian's funeral." And I can't read his signature, but it was 25/5/02. God be in my head and in my understanding. God be in mine eyes and in my looking. God be in my mouth and in my speaking. God be in my heart and in my thinking. God be at mine end and at my departure. Amen. Amen. Now, I would also like a minute's silence for two special family members that are not here. Anna, cousin Anna Seifert, and best friend and big buddy, Richard Lowndes. Is it a minute?
Minutes are really long.
Danielle said it's a minute. She's the boss. Thank you. Okay, your turn. You guys can really talk. I can really talk.
Say something. Let me get this out of the way.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right.
I don't think much of a speaker for these kind of things, and honestly, it's one of his like sayings, you know, his little lesson thing. I'm not prepared, so I gotta find it again. Is this yours? There you go. He had I don't really call it like a parable, a little bit of wisdom, but it's this idea that we're all three people. And what I have here is something from when I was, God knows how young. And,
Well, when you were?
and what does it say? 12. Yeah, 12.
It was 12.
They had an assignment where my parents had to write some things to me or about me, etc. And he wrote it down here, so it's very convenient. I was also not aware this existed, so it was quite nice to read it on the plane right up. But he says, remember you are three people. The person you can see, the person others see, and the person you really are. And through all my mental health struggles, I think this lesson has applied a lot to me. I don't want to go into any of that detail because I'm not saying I'd rather not. But I liked it, and figured if there was something to share, it was very Julian. It's probably the thing he's told me 30 times over throughout the pages of my life. So, yay, that's it.
very briefly.
So we have.
We have all night, please.
Okay, all night will do. All night, fine.
You could do two anecdotes about yourself.
Indeed, I was coming to that.
We have a backpack in the middle.
Yeah. Well, mine during, I was about 5, and mine during my oldest memory of Julian is him teaching Johnny, he must have been 3, and me to smoke. He said, these aren't real cigarettes, boys. This is rolled up newspaper, but it's just as good.
The Times or the Telegraph?
Right here, in front of this audience, I know what to say. But I'm pretty certain that knowing my parents, it was the Telegraph.
I think
Well, that's my oldest memory, and then we skip a long time, and one thing was that Julian was extremely generous to our little charity, and every year gave very generously, and actually made a bequest to the charity, which was also very generous. Then the other thing was that he took the trouble, when we were all much older, to come down and search us out in the West Country. And latterly, I suppose he must have come over about once or twice a year, and he used to come down and see us and take us out to lunch. And that was very nice. Anyway, so that's my... Now we can talk about me.
Did you tell everybody about the book? Or-
Yeah, as we sit down for dinner, you guys want to take a page before last, the epilogue, it's about almost anything, well, the way somebody interpreted it was that it applies to almost anything you may have strived in your life to achieve perfection but didn't. And he puts it very beautifully, how we can live with that and make that our strength. So, but it's supposed to be a comic book, golf book, and somebody picked up that, not me, somebody picked up that that was a very nice message for everyone. If you care to read it, whatever, later.